Hey guys! Man, lots of stuff happening here lately, but most importantly, for the purposes of this channel, last night I decided to take a break from my normal habits of heavy drinking and sex with Asian girls, and actually got to play a game. And this was with a pretty small group. There are only 2 people involved. I've played with both of them before, but never in the same group. And we played Devil's Crossroad. And it went very well. It was, just a one-shot. I ran them through the adventure that came with the playtest module for those of you who are involved in that. Thanks a lot, by the way. Your feedback is really helping me out a lot with that. So anyway, we ran through that adventure, and the 2 people involved in this game, one of them created a former Chinese prostitute, and the other guy made a craggly old prospector who had some vision from God. And so I put them into the playtest adventure, and if you've seen the playtest adventure, then you know, for those who haven't, that it's kind of set along a timeline. It's like the characters are in a particular location, and then things happen to them at various junctures while they're there, and also depending on what their input on the situation is. So, the way it typically runs, or the way I wrote it to happen, was that the players would arrive in town, find out the setup for what's going on, and then on the first night would be introduced to the main conflict, which would then resolve over the next day. Well, by the time the first night rolled around and they got into the events that were actually going to form the bulk of the adventure, several key NPCs were dead. Lots of things had happened that had made many of the plot devices and motivations and stuff of the NPCs involved pretty much irrelevant, possibly because they were dead. And at one point, the players, one of whom was heavily injured after a gunfight, decided that the best thing they could possibly do was get out of Dodge, almost literally in this case. So they fled and the adventure ended. And while this is very far from what I intended on happening when I was writing that particular adventure, I wasn't disappointed with the way it went. If that had been the introduction to a long-running campaign, I would have been very happy to run with it from there. And it went well. The rules for the game, if you're playtesting it, then you kind of have an idea about what's going on. But they worked really well. And once it came to a point in the story or in the adventure where it looked like a violent conflict was inevitable, like, people had been, kind of prancing around it for a long time, almost for the entire first night sequence. But at a certain point, it became inevitable that a fight was going to happen. Up till then, people had been drawing their guns, but not using them. And, one of the players had been walking around with his shotgun unloaded to show, how not wanting to fight he was. But at about the time whenever he finally loaded his gun, they were both like, oh, shoot, this isn't going to be good. So finally, gunfire happens, and they decided that surviving was definitely more important than whatever gains they could hope to accomplish while in that town, and whether or not they could even accomplish them anymore with so many central players being dead was highly questionable anyway, so they just ran. So, that's how the game went. And in other news, real quick, thank you very much for the people doing the playtest, and I've already got some feedback from that, and it has been so much more encouraging than I could have even hoped for. I'm glad that you've enjoyed it as much as you have, and I'm working on the issues that you've mentioned to me. I am based on your feedback, definitely going to try to publish this game at some point. It just is a question of getting a bunch of things together. In non-game related news, I'm moving again very quickly, possibly within the next week or so, hopefully within the next week or so. So I don't know how that will disturb the video output this time, but I hope it's not like it was last time, so there will probably be videos from me next week. Other than that, that's pretty much all that's going on, other than the fact that I've got this really cool hat. So, thank you for watching the RPG channel, and I will talk to you later.
Oh god, what would be a good